Welcome to Shaping the New York City Skyline, the podcast that explores the stories behind the buildings that shape our city. I'm your host, Brenda Slokowski, and I'm here with my co-host,
David Shamshovich.
Hey, David. Hey, Camilla.
Hey, guys. How's everybody doing?
Everybody is doing well.
Welcome, Skyliners. Why did I yell? I don't know.
You like to go one or two octaves above the normal.
It's true. I have a loud family, so I've always had to be loud in order to be heard.
So we're really excited, and we're here to discuss a great guest that we had, Margaret Ling of AmTrust. And she was here to discuss the ins and outs of her real estate career.
She's on the most amount of committees I've ever seen. It sounds like she has 3 full-time jobs.
From immigration attorney to real estate solo practitioner to title insurance counsel to continuing to work with title insurance companies and agents, but at the same time also doing a ton of business development. And that's what she does at AmTrust, where she works.
I feel like she can do it all.
And her longevity throughout her career has really been impressive. She is one of the most personal people you will ever meet.
It was so kind to talk about all the things that she's done throughout her career, which has been absolutely spectacular. She's still going strong. She's also mentoring young real estate attorneys, such as some of the attorneys that we have here at Side and Shine.
That is
She
true.
imparts so much wisdom on all of her mentees and all of the kids that she mentors in her golf sessions and even in her everyday career. She's constantly talking to people, and I'm really excited for our Skyliners to hear what she has to say because she gives some real good nuggets of wisdom. Between all 3 of her jobs, she is totally shaping the New York City skyline.
It's funny, I don't know where the button is
I don't know
because
which one
C.
it is either.
you press it all the time. What does A, B, and D do?
That's A.
Wait. Why are we not using that more?
I was going to say that.
She's been shaping the NYC skyline for decades at this point, whether in one aspect or another. She's an interesting and such a nice person to talk to. So
I think our Skyliners are really going to look forward to hearing from her.
So Skyliners, put your seats in their upright positions.
Fold your tray tables. Unplug your electronics.
And get ready.
From Margaret Ling.
Hey, David. Hey, Camilla.
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Good. How's everybody doing today?
It's a good day.
Yeah. I mean, we always get excited when
I
we
know.
get back on the mic. It's really a good day.
I put on the headphones, the mic's in my face, and I'm like, let's do this.
It's always a fun time.
Most of us were up at 3 o'clock this morning trying to
all of us.
catch up on work before starting recording today. And we have our premiere episode coming out again on February 1st. So we're super excited about that.
Very excited. And today, it's even more exciting because we have an amazing guest with us.
We do.
We have Miss Margaret Ling. She is the... right. Button. Yeah.
Brenda's in charge of the clapping.
I know, but now today I'm doing the intro, so I had to multitask in it. You know?
Precisely. And we're all judging you, by the way.
I know.
Yes.
I'm a little nervous about it.
You're doing phenomenal so
Thanks.
far.
I haven't started.
We'll grade you after.
Miss Margaret Ling is with us today. She is underwriting counsel at AmTrust Title. She is an active member of multiple city bar associations and committees in the greater New York area and New Jersey.
It would take you 3 days probably to list them.
So many. I don't think I've ever seen anybody as active in bar associations as I've seen
it's
you.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm rather sleep deprived.
Aren't we all?
Join the club.
She graduated from New York Law School and went to Barnard for undergrad. She was a deputy court clerk in the Southern District of New York for Judge Constance Baker Motley. She started off in immigration law, but we're going to go through it with her. So everybody give it up for Margaret Ling.
Thank you so much, David and Camilla and Brenda, for having me. Celebrated my 40th anniversary at law school recently. I'm the class of 1983. And
Wow.
trying not to think about it
Congratulations.
that much, but if I could share any tidbits of wisdom and what I call war stories, was nominated to the board to return to the board at New York County Lawyers Association. And I'm just so honored. It's the first bar I joined in 1983.
Wow.
So I feel so wanted and embraced that, that the younger colleagues aren't pushing out all the senior dinosaurs like myself. But we were talking how younger colleagues have to go out and bring business in. You have to brand yourself. And that's why this podcast is so important, to teach networking skills and not just to sit behind your desk and stare at your laptop. So it's a skill that we all have to learn. And I've had to learn it probably the last 15 years of my career.
What was your upbringing like? Where did you grow up?
A very interesting upbringing because I'm very involved in diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm a 4th generation Chinese American from New York. My grandfather, both of them, one of them came over through Ellis Island and the other one came over, jumped off an oil tanker in Galveston, Texas.
Wow.
I guess like you hear about the migrants, came into New York and literally started the New York Chinatown that you go down to Mott Street. He founded with the Family Association with another attorney, my friend Glenn Loudkey's grandfather, two grandfathers, early 1900s, started Chinatown. So my history is really rooted in New York City. My father was a doctor. I'm from a family, 13 cousins that are doctors and lawyers, and my uncles, my dad, and my three uncles, who have all since passed away and left us the legacy. We're all doctors, went to University of Maryland, grew up in New York Chinatown, went to Stuyvesant back in the old days, and just focused all of their children, which includes I'm of that generation, to come back and give back to your community. So I was supposed to be an MD, like everybody else. And in high school, I tell this story, it's really funny, in front of a lot of aspiring lawyers that want to know why have ESQ after my name. I couldn't dissect the frog, and I was really grossed out by the whole situation. Went back home and said to my parents, if I can't make it through 10th grade biology, we're not going to make it through anatomy. I wanted to be an aspiring journalist like Connie Chung. And the parents that I have, and they're Asian parents, although they're born in New York, no daughter of ours is going to be running around doing journalism. You're going to law school, young lady. And that was it. You don't question your parents. So I was pre-law since 10th grade. And it was going to be immigration because they knew the district director, Michael Angiulo, because you could do good in the community. I focused on immigration law. I did clerk. I didn't think of it much then that I was the deputy court clerk for the Constance Baker Motley. She was the first Afro-American chief judge of the Southern District, very renowned. You hear about her now. She'll be 102 years old. So as her deputy court clerk, I was by her side for like a year. All of the law clerks that are there. Laura Swain is now the chief judge of the Southern District. She clerked with me from Harvard, so we reminisce about those days. I didn't think much about it because it was really intense times working for her. She gets there at 7, you get there at 5 into the Southern District. You stay till she leaves. Litigators would shake coming into her courtroom. We were her young law clerks. We knew what she was all about. We knew every facet of her personality. And I think now what an honor it was. She taught me wherever I work, okay? And I know we're casual now. Even if it was 100 degrees out in her chambers, you had to have a jacket on. You had to have a pad. If she beeped you, you run in with the pad and the jacket on. Gentlemen had to have ties, and there you stood. And that's not changed in my lifetime through my whole career. The formality part of it taught us to be really polite, taught us to follow the rule of law, and really, do the best thing you can as an attorney. And I tell people to this day, that's been my guiding spirit. I think she watches over me above sometimes. Exactly, going like, why are you doing real estate law when you should be doing human rights? But that's another story.
How did you come about to clerk for her?
One of my friends went to Daniel Chow, who's a professor now, was her law clerk. I got out of law school, was studying for the bar, and their deputy clerk, and I'm not going to mention his name, I guess failed the bar like 6 times, and he was taking it again. They needed someone to sub. It is kind of like you had to know somebody, and I made all of $15,000.
Wow.
I forgot what it was under the federal. I sat in on President Nixon came in on trial, all the Pizza Connection trials. Mick Jagger was the most famous trial I sat on. I'm not a rock star music person. I used to listen to pop and classical. So when it came in, I had no clue why everybody wanted to, how they can get in. Because we don't have police officers, court officers in federal. The deputy court clerk reigns high in letting people in. So I had no idea who, and I didn't have Google back then. Think about that. I could have Googled it. I didn't know who Michael Jagger, that's what the paper said. And then people are telling me. And I did. I swore him in, talked to him. He had a tweed suit. To me, he's looking normal. It's a copy infringer. So I think backwards, like, wow, that was amazing stuff. At the time, Judge Circuit Court Denny Chin was an assistant U.S. attorney. Rudy Giuliani, in his prime, had a full head of hair. He was the U.S. attorney. It was an amazing experience. Even though I don't do litigation or anything, I always do share that with other younger colleagues, how it just formed the foundation of what I do as a lawyer. And I was in the courthouse 2 years ago. I'm the vice president of the network of bar leaders, and that's like all 60 bars. So I'm the vice president. And we had our installation with Senior Judge George Daniels in Southern District. Hadn't been in that courthouse since I left in 1985 or whatever. From 21 down to 9, and beat her there because I had to put the robe on and do all that stuff, So
you weren't wearing the robe, were you?
No, I wasn't. I wish I could. And as you said, David, if you can do a legal, the judges really teach you what you should do. Because sometimes you end up in a bad firm as your first job and you may have a really bad experience. And I don't feel that that's the focus. It seems like it's the school of hard knocks, right? When you're going through the clerkship, but you appreciate it after, I would say.
You're doing so much substantive work.
Yes.
And you feel the level of importance that you feel like you mean something. And then once you go back to practice, you're back to doing doc review, writing memos to a file that nobody may ever look at. So for me, it was actually a bummer. It was like a bummer going back to be an associate, although I was earning probably 3 times more.
Absolutely. I left her clerkship to do my immigration law thing that my parents wanted me to do. I wanted to do good in the world, do immigration law, but I needed to get training, I knew. So I worked for several immigration lawyers. And it was frustrating in the 80s because 26 Federal Plaza, you go in and out, they lose the files, all right? You go in there, you're trying to help people, and they're telling you adjourn, adjourn, adjourn. I worked at one firm, I won't name him, he's still around evidently. He must have been committing fraud on green cards. So I'd go in for a green card interview out to Newark with the client, and then he'd go meet me in Manhattan, Margaret, and that's the partner. I'm like, isn't that the woman that was with the guy for the marriage in Newark? Don't say it, young lady, don't say anything. And I'm like, so I did that for about a year, and then I went back to my parents and I said, this is not good. It's not what I wanted to do as a lawyer. And I gave it a chance, and I'm going to apply to Columbia Journalism School. And again, they said this to me. It was 1986 by then. I passed the bar. And they said, nope. My dad was a doctor in Chinatown. He went back to his roots. Sometimes he wouldn't even charge patients that they were senior citizens. And we make house calls. Where do you find a doctor that makes house calls to all the tenements in Chinatown? My parents were involved in all the not-for-profits. So they felt immigration law was helping, people. So I basically said that immigration thing's not working because the system's got issues. Okay. So then my dad says, a lot of patients are asking me, do you do real estate? I go, what's real estate? Real property was the worst subject in law school. I hated that. I like common law. I like, doing appellate briefs. I worked on the immigration pro bono projects, all of that stuff. And he goes, no, you should do this. And we'll help you back up your office. Good parents, we'll get the furniture, we'll help you. So I said, no, I need experience. That's what I said with immigration law. So I started working for 2 different attorneys in Chinatown. It was on the placement board at New York Law School. And I remember that salary, again, was $13,000. They were the sleaziest attorneys you could possibly imagine. And on top of it, a lot of my parents, my dad's VIP business clients in Chinatown that were my dad's patients were using these lawyers, complaining how awful they are. They saw me as an associate in the office, and they would call my dad up. She should open on her own. So in Chinese, it's jigi hoi pai. That means on her own, put the license on the door. Literally, that's what I just said. And I'm like, I can't do that. I didn't even take a real estate transaction course. So it got to be bad, and finally, I wanted to go back to journalism school, and they said, no, let's do it. My parents, and again, good Asian daughter, don't complain to parents, all right?
Well, what kind of work were you doing when you first started doing real estate in that first firm? What kind of
In that first firm, he was the busiest law firm. I won't name him. I've seen him subsequently transaction. We had all the VIP, all the developers. So he's doing condo developments. He had no clue what an offering plan was, okay? He's doing transactions. He's doing everything. He's doing people's divorces, both sides. I had objection to that. And these are my dad's patients. They're very wealthy people from Hong Kong. And I'm like, the one that broke the camel's back was $1 million refinance, Bank of China. He wouldn't go to it. I've never done bank closings. And he sent me out in the car out to Garden City. And I remembered I was there with I even drove the client out. It was so nice. It was a blizzard. She remembered me because she was my dad's patient. She also said, why don't you open your own office? And we get there. I totally didn't know what to do. And I kept calling the office and he wouldn't take the calls.
Oh, wow.
And I learned again, because I was trained the way I was, that this wasn't going to work. It was Chinese New Year's Eve. I remember it. Came home to my family's dinner, and I didn't quit by email. We didn't have it then, but I literally called him and said, I'm gone. Whatever was in my desk, I said, this is it. And basically, that's when my parents said on New Year's Eve, Lunar New Year's Eve, this is it. This is your moment to open your office. So that was 1987, and I did. And I learned at that point that your title company, and that's where I work I've been there, right? The title underwriter becomes your best friend. They help you through every storm and everything. And I kept saying, I used First American Direct at the time. And they said, no, we'll help you through everything. And they did. So I was in private practice for about 9 years. I did commercial, I did residential, and, really was very thorough. What I did, tried to absorb everything with a sponge, joined the New York County Lawyers. I'm one of the oldest members there. I sit on the board now since 1986. And remember, the lawyers that told me learn everything you can. All right. And I also did general business because it comes with the client. Okay. So you learn to do that. So I do a lot of CLEs to colleagues on negotiating contracts and what you should know. And the technology has really come into play also. If you want to go time of the essence and deadlines, you've got to consider technology. When do you consider receipt and all of those lovely things? So I was in private practice. And then I realized by 1994, I was getting really routine. It was all residential and I wanted to be challenged. So I started applying to litigation firms. I was very ambitious and got a couple of acceptances. And I guess the word went out in the Chinese community that, Margaret's looking for transition and never thought of title at all. It never was really something that I really. So I got approached to be in the title insurance industry. And believe it or not, my car was ready to go. I was ready to go to San Francisco. I was ready to relocate to San Francisco. And a week before the car was going to go on the trailer to go across the country, someone came to me and offered me a title job. And that's where it started in February 8th. Anniversary is coming up, 1995. I learned it at a small company in New York, Chinatown from the very beginning. I mean, I didn't know anything. From an attorney's point of view, I knew transactional, not from the title perspective. Although my title companies always loved me because I was the woman that would confirm the payoff figures, do the affidavits, make sure even before the title report was read, knew the abstract was coming in and go, can I look at the abstract to get an idea? That's how curious I wanted to make sure it was a clean file. So I went to work in Chinatown, and the dream I was told was to be at the underwriter. I worked at an agent. So I learned, the person that I learned was a CHM Abstract in Chinatown, small company, very busy, sometimes over, 30 closings a week. So we were really busy. Learned how to read an abstract, learned everything from the beginning. It's like if you go to a local in your neighborhood to get like insurance for your home, they give you choices, right? You could insure it through AmTrust, Geico, State Farm, Farmers. You have choices. Those are the underwriters. The underwriters are the ones that issue the policies. They have agents that act on their behalf. Okay. So I was working in the beginning of my career for title agents who underwrote for the other big four underwriters. AmTrust wasn't around yet. We're 8 years old. So as I was doing this, the senior counsels, because we have to clear title, and I know all of you know what that means. You have a transaction, title company raises issues, mortgages, liens, taxes. It's a new condominium. They didn't file the offering plan yet. They didn't subdivide the units. So all of these senior counsels were like, you seem really, my first day in the job in Chinatown, I got 3 job offers on the phone. I'm like, wow. They said, we know you from practice, Margaret. Would you like to? I said, I can't do that. I'm very honest. This person just hired me, but they dangled the salary, and I go, well, it seems very tempting. But I couldn't do it. So and they told me then the underwriter counsels, because I have to call the underwriters to get approvals on many of these files. I worked on Battery Park City in the beginning. You might be interested to know. Back in the 80s when it was water, it was Washington Market, and they filled it in, they built Battery Park City. So I did all those closings back then. All my clients in private practice were investment bankers and doctors, and they were all buying all the new condos all over. So, I knew how to do that. And the underwriter counsels that I was talking to in 1995 are like, you need to be at the underwriter. All these troublemakers trying to get me to quit my job. And
why is that? What was their reasoning?
It's like going to the bigger law firm, leaving the solo guy and going to the big time.
Because they're the ones that make the decisions, because it's their money.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, I'm not qualified yet, And so anyway, I worked for several title agents, and probably they said it would take 10 years to get the underwriter at 1995. I made it 6.5. So
is that like making the equivalent of making partner, or
yeah, something like that? But it's like going in-house. You know how people say you could be working with a solo guy, and then a big corporation comes and offers in-house at Microsoft. So I was deeply honored. Several underwriters came to me and said, we know we work with you on transaction. We'd like to give you the opportunity. And I felt, okay, I have enough experience under my belt. So in 2001, I went to Stewart Title. I was there 7 years. Amazing experience. They also asked for me to be on the National Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committees because, and I'm not shy about saying, Asian market, my practice was 99% Asian, still is fluid during real estate recession. Okay, the clients are either first-time home buyers, investors, waiting for distress to happen, and then they'll take the opportunity for development. Okay, so they knew that, and they wanted me to, like, how do we understand the multicultural market? So I've been doing it. It's not a new thing when you talk about DE. I've been doing it for a long time. So most of the corporate underwriters I worked at, you're not just teaching staff internally how to get clients, but how does the internal staff go out to the market and relate to get that segment in? How do you bond with the Japanese client? And there I am telling them Japanese is not the same as Korean, not the same as Chinese. Within Chinese, I'm born here. I'm called an ABC, American born Chinese, versus someone from Hong Kong versus someone from Beijing versus someone from Taiwan. Do not say we're all the same, because you're going to lose the deal. You're going to really offend people. Can't say that.
So why don't you get, if it's possible, what's the example, the difference between relating to somebody who's Chinese, Korean, or Japanese?
Japanese is usually corporate background, very quiet. I had most of the clients from Goldman Sachs, Salomon Brothers, buying $1 million condos. And I would tell anyone that has Japanese business clients after, they don't say anything to you. They delegate totally to you. But if you make mistakes, you may regret that, because they are tracked. They don't, I tell this to people, and Asians in general were quiet. I have a very quiet demeanor too. So many places I've worked at, they don't think I'm absorbing at meetings and stuff. I said, no, my parents, they teach you that, be quiet. All right. Don't speak up unless it's important. Now, you're in law school. That was bad. Beginning of my law school career is when I had to be more extroverted, or I'm losing a third of a point. Listening to my parents not to say anything wasn't helping me with all the big mouths around me. So as of now, when I mentor, I go, look, you don't want to, I know it's what we call imposter syndrome within the Asian culture. We're just taught that way, to be quiet. But, the clients.
It's the opposite of what they
right?
teach the Jewish. I'm Jewish. It's the opposite of what they teach you.
So, right? Yeah, so the clients are like the Japanese clients, very protocol, very, you don't even know what they're thinking. So I knew that from the 80s, and I, teach that to people. And it's interesting, though. They're watching everything. Like when you go to a closing, they're just mentally watching. So I learned, and a lot of lawyers don't do this. One of the good transactional lawyers, from the minute we go to contract, you even know what a title policy is. And I was in practice, and I'm explaining to you what a title report is. I'm showing the markups, everything. There's memos, and this is before technology. Before we close, I sit with you 2 weeks before. I give you a breakdown memo. I tell you what to expect at the closing. Who are the people sitting there? Nobody does that. Okay, so now houses, I even went on engineering inspections, and nobody does that. Engineers used to faint when they see me there, and the brokers hated it more. Brokers are trying to rip off the buyers who don't speak English, and they would say in Chinese, "Why is she here?" And then they would go, "She understands Chinese." One of them said, "Why does she not have a fancy Mercedes?" And I respond in Chinese, "Because I just don't feel like it." And they go, "You understand Chinese?" I go, "Yeah, I don't know why you're assuming." They were trying to sell an illegal 3-family house to my client, and I could tell. And I asked her for the C of O, and she caught the broker off guard. So, it's interesting sometimes.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of that experience, only because
right?
we do mostly commercial, and we have more, I guess, seasoned or sophisticated clients versus the residential.
Excellent point, because I always tell all my young real estate attorneys, aspire to go to the commercial level. Learn how to do complicated restructuring transactions, foreclosure, bankruptcy, because after a while, and also no offense to my residential colleagues, it's a different kind of transaction.
Completely.
Okay, because unfortunately, sometimes I feel on the residential, it gets a little petty. There are boxing matches at the closing table. I don't think you'd ever see that at a commercial one. And I'm sad when I hear these stories lately, because now people have their phones. They're taking pictures of attorneys not behaving properly and sending it to the appellate division. The clients, this is the happiest moment of their lives, is buying residential. Commercial too, I would say. You see them celebrating in the real deal, right?
Yeah,
It's a different thing, but for residential, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So you have to have that empathetic part.
It's very different,
that.
and I think I commend you for doing the things you do, because residential transactional attorneys make a very small fee.
That's right.
Which is why they don't appear at, house inspection or with the broker. They're not getting paid for it. They're a volume business.
Well, the other reason I was very lucky in the 10 years, it was all referral business. I did not market myself or anything, so everybody used to hear. And to this day, I still get calls from the second generation of the clients from the 1980s, so I refer it out. I just don't have time for it. And they go, "But you do such a good job." And I also would say this, David, I couldn't earn a living. I do all this free work. So yeah, going into title, and then I made it to the underwriter. And I've also worked in claims and litigation at the underwriter. So I pretty much, from title perspective, been from every facet of it. And then during my career, 2009. So I started 1995, and it was internally getting really good. And then 2009 hit bears and laymen, and real estate went bust. Okay, I think my
As
younger
it does every few years.
yes. So I've been through every cycle. I could talk about it, and there I am driving 80 miles out to Liberty Corner for Couch and Brown Surf, one of my clients in New Jersey. They're one of the biggest insurance companies, to hold my title career down. So I'm very proud when people say, how the heck did you hold your title career down? You do the best you can. All right. And then I was offered from First American to come back and work in the claims department, of which, because of post bears and laymen, we had 5. Each attorney had a couple hundred open files on the docket because what was going on. Yeah. We were loaning out money beyond the equity of the property. Fraud. Fraud is crazy. I do a lot of events with the DA's office, Attorney General's office on deed fraud. So my bar association career probably started like around 2009, because where I was working said, you have to go out and get business. What is that? Right. So I'm dating myself when I said red walls. I would sit behind my computer and work on files and just papers all over my desk. You couldn't see, Margaret, all these red wells, which are the big fat red file folders, are stacked up like a wall because I'm immersed in this stuff. Yeah. All right. And the Asian bar came to me and said, we'd like for you to start the Real Estate Association in 2007. And I was really good. I said, I don't have time. I have a day job. And they said, we think you do great service to the community. And then I thought about it, and I said, how come you're around 20-something years and you don't have a real estate committee when real estate from the Asian segment drives the New York metropolitan area? Are you kind of clueless? And they said, that's why we want you to do it. And
they just waited 20 years.
No turning back from there. So I never really spoke in front of people. And that year I did 20 live CLEs talking in front of people. So you kind of just do it. You start speaking. And it was great. All these banks and corporations wanted to meet Asian attorneys and real estate development clients. So I'm like the matchmaker, Match.com. Just put all these events together in 2007. To date, probably I've done about 200 different programs and meeting people. And then the Asian bar then connected me to other bars.
Well, how did you get involved in business development? I'm thinking maybe you join a title company, you act as counsel or whatever department it is.
Oh, because they see all the people I know. And the next thing, the marketing department's coming, and I'm like, oh, the kiss of death. They're going to take ESQ counsel off the card. No. And it happened twice. I go, sorry, I don't want to be an account representative. My friends are calling me, that is so demeaning. You're not doing law anymore.
I'd love to be an account executive.
So, I mean, to a certain extent.
Like a bazillion years of education to be a lawyer, and you don't want to practice.
So that I can be an account executive.
But the thing is, you had to be, because the clients wanted you to do all the legal underwriting. They're not giving it to somebody else. So then they realized, okay, we'll make you a hybrid, account representative / counsel.
Well, just double the work.
Yes, thank you very much. So yes, I'm going out to network at night to all these events, and I go home and I do work. Yes, no, that's still my life today. So yes, proud to say that, when I went to AmTrust, I didn't challenge it. I usually challenge it like, I want to be an underwriting counsel. And they asked for me. They know all the things I do. When they approached me 3 years ago, because you just have to go on my LinkedIn and see it. And I said, you know what? After 10 plus years, I'm okay with being called New York State Business Development. And they said, well, we're going to put agency counsel. I go, okay. And that made me happy. All right. But
did you know that business development is what you have been doing since law school, just not really
not really thinking about it.
But that's what you've been doing, essentially.
Yes, very, very true, David. I'm planning about 10 CLEs before May. Between AmTrust, different bar associations, I will invite you. I'm excited on Local Law 97. I actually have the building department commissioner that wrote Local Law 97 coming to speak. I actually get these kind of speakers. So I'll have the Attorney General, Letitia James, will come out and talk about deed fraud at the DA's office. So that's in addition to the day job, too. Yeah.
How do you, some of the people maybe through other people, how do you coordinate all these things and get all these things done, these speakers brought together? Think of the CLEs that you want to put on.
I excuse and apologize on my emails that there's like 6 people on the email, and I'm addressing all of you like, David, we're going to do this. Brenda, we're going to do this. And we'll all have another meeting on Zoom. Because my time's crazy. I get like 100 emails a day and try to attend all these events after hours. My team at the office knows I probably go home and eat dinner around 10, 11, 12. Stephen Colbert and I have dinner every night at CBS. But it's all good because you know how the recession is. I'd say, in my experience, this is the worst one in my whole career. The longest one.
What makes this one different?
This one, the other ones were more short-term interest rate. And it's interesting because the interest rate, when we were at 2-3%, people complaining, I go, I was at 18% in the 80s. Okay. So, I said, I know. And they do say I was at JP Morgan Chase in a big event. They say it's going to be maybe at 5, hopefully the Feds. They say there is not going to be a real estate recession in 2024, which I hope is the case. And, within our title insurance industry itself, there's been a lot of restructuring, a lot of people, a lot of counsels and staff let go because unfortunately it is like banking because I know all the banks. When things get busy, it revs up and they overstaff. So I always try to tell colleagues, including partners at major law firms, and all three of you have seen it. I was, talking with your senior partner, Jane Rosenberg, who we know each other for many years of our wonderful career. You've got senior partners at big law firms, all of a sudden the firms are merging and they're jobless. So I'm not just mentoring younger colleagues, but my own colleagues that you have to be multifaceted, quote unquote, think outside the box. So we just talked about business development. It's really an important part of your resume. And you may have never done it because you were a partner that sat in a beautiful corner office with a view. That isn't happening. Firms want business. So part of bar activity is connecting to people. I also belong to all the major real estate associations as well. So I get invited to a lot of events. It was challenging through COVID. So let's go back 4 years ago. So during COVID, I immediately started doing webinars. And everybody's funny. I go to places and they go, the lady that's on the webinar, I've never met you before because you probably, when I do webinars, there's my face, the panelists, and I don't know, the 100 other people. So I met a lot of people lately that said, so nice to meet you, like the TV lady. So I'm like, oh, okay. But I felt it was a time, and a lot of my friends at the big law firms, and I won't name them, they said their managing partners were upset because you couldn't network, right? You couldn't go out in the height of COVID. So I said, you got to go, you've got to do it virtual. And they refused to do it. And I said, no, you have to. And get on LinkedIn. Let's not forget the LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I really didn't do LinkedIn before COVID. And I've met a lot of people by way of LinkedIn, believe it or not. But, filter it. Let me say that. Let me preface that. Filter the LinkedIn. Make sure it's a legitimate person.
Right.
Because people on LinkedIn usually want your connections.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And if they're toxic, you don't want that.
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct.
Absolutely right.
So your role right now, what, other than business development, are you still doing title clearance?
So, yes, I am. I'm an agency rep. I'm in charge of about 8 to 10 of my own title agents that I had sign up with AmTrust. So I'm in charge of all their underwriting, every question they have from their counsels. I oversee that too. So I'm very proud that my general counsel, who I've known for over 20 years, James Anasoulis, who came from First American, he came to AmTrust about 8 years ago. At that time, wanted to bring me over. They weren't ready. So I came in 3 years ago and he told them what I was capable of doing. And I think I lived up to expectation because he became the president. We're so proud of him being president in April. And it was a lot of restructuring. I'm now doing a lot of geographic areas outside of New York. So it's challenging. I'm traveling a lot, representing AmTrust. Like I'm going to the American Land Title Convention in March. I just got accepted to be a faculty member, which it was like applying to Harvard. I had to send a package in the size of Harvard with my CLEs, my photos,
I
everything.
hope you put your federal clerkship on there.
Right? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. That was smart. And unfortunately, I've not been to the Midwest. I go between New York and Bay Area to see family and stop in Chicago here. Not to demean Oklahoma, but I'm going to Oklahoma. And it seems to be okay. I've talked to some friends, so I'll be there for a week. And the traveling thing, you try to generate new markets for AmTrust with title agents all over the country. So it wasn't expected, but when good things happen, we just announced on the housing wires, it's official because James wanted to go in slowly as interim president. It just went out on the housing wires this morning that he's the new president of AmTrust Title.
You heard it here first.
There you go. And
breaking news.
Breaking news. Because I said when it hits housing wire, and the marketing team has been coming and taking videos of me and all. So they're really focused on helping us grow. They've been around 8 years. We are part of AmTrust Financial. It's one of the biggest global insurance companies, and they decided to go into the title insurance industry 8 years ago, which is an interesting thing to think about. And so far, so good. It's been really growing.
What have you seen lately in terms of trends? Whether something like you talked about, you're going to have a CLE about deed fraud. I know that was really big in 2007, 2008. I actually did some pro bono cases on that, defending some the clients who were subjected to that kind of fraud. What are you seeing right now, or what challenges do you see right now, or claims do you see right now that are particularly stand out or interesting?
And good question, David, because I always try to put subjects on my CLEs that are of interest to people. Not to demean the New York State Bar. I'm a member since the 1980s. I'm one of the co-chairs, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. But going to their CLEs for real estate can be the most boringest thing for 7 credits. You do get 7 credits, but pick the worst topics. So I tried to pick the latest and greatest. Local Law 97. Cybersecurity is a big deal. There have been so many major breaches in the last 3 months. Mr. Cooper Bank, Loan Depot, I won't name our 2 other underwriters got hit. The minute it hit these underwriters, every transaction computer was shut down for 2 weeks. That just hurts you. Can't have that. So the smallest solo law firm to as big as the big corporations need to take those protections. So I do a lot of cybersecurity with fraud and real estate. AI, big conversation. I just came from the New York State Bar annual conference. Artificial intelligence in real estate, big thing, because as we get technology savvy, you have to worry about cybersecurity. Is it going to take the place of people? All right. New York City, the office vacancy. I'm looking outside your windows. How many people are really sitting in their office? Although Jamie Dimon down the road asked everyone, and I have friends high up in Chase, his beautiful new office, and forgot who else is saying you better show up 3 days at least. That's a challenge because throughout COVID, people, I think, really like working remote. I work remote, believe it or not. We consolidated our offices to save space in our headquarters, and I gave up my cubicle because I really don't come in. And basically my boss said, that's fine. I talk to my bosses a couple of times a day. So the younger colleagues, I told them, working remote, you make sure you keep in contact with the office. That's the concerns that you're laxing off. Right. So my boss knows it. I'm on the phone with everybody a couple times a day. Thank God for Bluetooth in the car because the spare time I'm between meetings, I drive everywhere. So I'm out in Jersey, could be in Princeton, come back to Manhattan, head out to Hauppauge, Long Island, all in one day. Thank God for the Bluetooth. Mm-hmm. So I catch up on the phone. But yeah, it's been interesting because I say to myself now, how did I just sit 11, 12 hours in front of a computer doing legal underwriter?
You might think because there's a lot of things happening.
I guess it just comes as experience. You kind of do it. You don't think about it. You think about what you're doing, but you don't stress over it. So that's very difficult. So here's a good one. I'm going to Oklahoma. I will be landing on a Monday. And on Tuesday, I have a really big cannabis law is a big deal. When the feds, and they will get there, okay, and we've been doing it the last 3 years, when the federal government legalizes it, it will be a big conversation. So we're still doing it. All the lawyers still want me to do it. Most of the big Wall Street law firms have a cannabis law division. So I tell the young lawyers, 2 big hot areas now for jobs, affordable housing and cannabis law. So the City Planning Commission, I work with them. We did a big CLE on affordable housing at Fordham Law School on behalf of the Asian Bar in September. I'm going to do another big affordable housing one.
We'd love to be a part of that.
And I'm going to make sure you're on the panel, definitely, because part of the planning now, because of the loss of 421A, I don't know if anyone...
Never heard of it.
Right? So when the governor put her budget out recently, but she supposedly is coming out with something in place of that. What are developers? So that's another topper is how can we sustain the developers without all of these benefits? J51. It's a difficult, challenging time. So now you could try to put affordable housing and work with the city, right? But if you saw the city of Yes, I got to see the press releases at my Fordham conference on a Saturday before the mayor announced it on Monday. So Ethel Chen comes in all excited. I update the PowerPoint. I have all the mayor. So we're sitting in Fordham like the mayor said it's okay not to put parking spaces in your right? You do build a condo. Nope. Well, he said it takes up 600 square feet of a unit. Parking is a big deal. I drive everywhere. Parking. Okay. Yeah. And then all these, he's going to change zoning. All right. I'm not quite sure how people are really excited about changing zoning. It can be preferable, which I also zoning, landmark and air rights. Big topic. I'm going to be doing that this year as well. Affordable housing. Where are you going to put everything? Everyone's running to Brooklyn now. So you probably do projects in Bushwick and Bed-Stuy.
We did almost all the buildings
you do
on
everywhere.
The waterfront.
We're running out of space right now. And I want to try to get Two Trees to talk about the Domino project.
We'd love to talk to Two Trees too.
Right?
They're one of our clients.
Oh, I need to talk to you then. Okay. So
I can't get there here. So.
People could be swimming in the basin of the Domino sugar plant. It's amazing.
We worked on pieces of Domino. We worked on a ton of things. We worked on
it is phenomenal.
Elliot Spitzer's project.
Yes.
He was on that podcast also.
So in a sense, because I'm a native New Yorker, I just actually love sometimes, and when I have a little bit of time, I don't come through the Midtown Tunnel. I live in Queens. I will drive over the RFK Bridge and go into Wall Street by way of the FDR just to look at what's going on the other side because I'm heading to a CLE. And the minute I get to New York County Lawyers at a 111 Broadway, I get all excited. Like I just drove down the East River. Okay, and look to see Queens. And if you've never seen it, it's phenomenal to see what's going on the water, Brooklyn and Queens, because you never see that before. Okay, and I have, Ryan Serhan. I know I've sat at events with him. The other hot topic. Who's Ryan? Right? Okay, so the other hot topic. I think everybody
knows who Ryan, and I've never met him. But
the other hot topic. Yeah, he talks really fast. Hot topic.
He's a friend of the firm.
Other than like Local Law 97, a mobilization is green, ESG, right? Environmental social governance. Everybody needs to know that. For real estate now, if you build a building, Dirt's just one of my clients. It was 825 3rd Avenue. They just redid the whole building green. If people are going to come into your building, it better be green friendly. I work with Jonathan Schultz, who's Onyx Equities. All of his projects are phenomenal, all green friendly. So now builders have to realize that. And also with the inception of Local 97, you can't ignore it. I've had so many people say, we don't need to comply. You do need. Your building's pretty sizable.
Yeah.
Nobody, unless you're a church or a rent-regulated building, you're not exempted from this. So we talked about at my Sealy last week. Glen Oaks Village tried to take a lawsuit to say condos and co-ops, which would affect your law firm, are exempted. They didn't win. It's going up to the appellate division. And I don't know how favorable appellate division. The building department commissioner at a live event said, we were talking about the lawsuit in front of her. She said, I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to tell you it's law. You could appeal all you want. She was very stern. At which point it was an interesting meeting because all the partners from the big law firms that were there for the meeting and the Sealy credits wanted to talk to her, and she left early. She looked at her clock.
Wow.
They also represented themselves as like officers on their condo and co-op boards, and they just felt they're exempt from Local 197. She saw how the crowd was going, and she said, I have to go. I wanted her business card, Commissioner Popper, for my events. So I run out to the elevators, and she starts running more. I said, no. I said, I am not on a condo or co-op board. I just want you to speak at my event. Oh, different. Here's my card. And she's coming. I'm very excited.
that's awesome.
She's coming. Yes.
That's wonderful. No, I mean, that's a very hot topic. That, and like you said, the tax exemption, and that sparks my curiosity. Have you been seeing, and I don't know how much you're seeing boots on the ground, because I know that you're looking over the different agents, but are you seeing a lot of development deals happening? Are people speculating?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I do have my title career that I occupy, but because of everything I do after 5 o'clock, I would say I'm in the pulse of everything. Okay, I'm in the pulse of everything. Within my Asian segment, all the developers are still building. I have a couple of developers, and I'm trying to get them over to your firm, by the way, that have like 6 projects, 6 acquisitions ready to go. They have to file AG, or they're looking for financing. I did a huge event. I'm on the Asian Real Estate Association. We had a big commercial event in October at the Union League Club with 400 people. You couldn't even have anyone come anymore. I was assigned the distressed property segment of the discussion. And basically, I had developers in the room saying, we wait for this moment. It's sad to hear that, but I know in my career since 1986, they wait for distress. So we've got a lot of commercial mortgages coming back, right? They're due. So what are these people going to do if they can't? They're going to refinance. We're hoping for my clients, right? So a lot of them, like SL Green and others, all right, RXR is one of AmTrust. Scott Reckler has, he's one of our clients. They handed the keys back, right, on some of them. So it is that's why I tell young lawyers, it's an interesting time for you to learn restructuring and refinancing, all of these things, because it's happening. We did a lot during when the rate was good, commercial, residential, and now it's coming up to term. What's going to happen with it? Hotels. So most of the Asian developers, I know most of the big hotel owners, like John Lamb and the Lamb Group, owns 50 hotels in New York. COVID took a hit. So you've got huge properties available. He's liquidating some of them, okay? So a lot of it's by word of mouth within the community. You hear something comes up, and then you don't, list with the realtor. And a lot of still, let's go to foreign investment, okay? So foreign investment, still a lot of foreign investment in Manhattan, all right? Still a lot of money trying to come in from Asia. So I'm also doing a big event with the ABA. I'm not just local bar anymore. Now I'm at the American Bar Association and the National Asian Bar. You may not be aware of it. There are states like Utah, Texas, Florida that have an alien law. If you are not a citizen, you can't buy real estate. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
So Miami is straining hard. The realtors that I know down there. So now you've got to ask your client, are you a citizen? Because there's a lot of, not just Asian in Miami, South Beach. I know friends, they're from Argentina, they're from South America. Huge investment in Miami. The law in Florida right now, they can't buy. So it's being challenged by the Bar Association. They're filing amicus briefs. They approached me at AmTrust to do a big event to talk about it. So I will share that with you. Hopefully never happens in New York because of the way we are, but there are inklings that there is a legislator in Staten Island that wants to go up to Albany and put it on the books. A lot of our business, and in my time since 1986, has come from foreign investment, okay? While I'm on foreign investment, okay, we have to talk about money laundering. That's a big conversation too.
Yeah. How do you
Still
do
federal regulations.
that? Oh, you mean you're talking about
Oh no!
the legal aspect of
How
it.
do you
Sorry.
money
He
launder?
wants the
please?
dummies. He wants the dummies. No, a
crash
big
course.
concern from the federal, because I know people from the federal regulatory end. My friends that work in Washington and also for here in New York, still concerned. So we do transactions. You're going to worry about money laundering, FinCEN, FERTA. Now we're going to talk about, and everyone's like, it's here, the CTA and the LLC transparency laws.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay,
Your
actually,
clients
ask you
come in
about
like,
that.
can I do it in an LLC? No one's ever going to know who I am.
No,
Well, they
actually.
know.
So
Right?
how is that shaking out?
It's
have you
new.
seen
It's
it?
new. I'm going to do an event on it. I'll let you know. They're trying to, initially when Governor Hochul put it out, it was really harsh. There's going to be a data bank, and that's it. You can look it up on the public record. Margaret Ling doesn't want everyone to know she bought that big townhouse for like $10 million. She's going to put it under Maggie's LLC. Well, when you register Maggie's LLC, you're going to put my name. You can look it up on a computer now. I think they've got to fine tune a lot of this stuff. People not happy with that. All right. So, but on the federal level too. So the federal level, I have an attorney from one of your neighbors, and I won't mention the name. He wants to do the one in the federal to talk about that. So, people are saying, okay, then we're going to put it in a trust. And somewhere soon, my government's not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to disclose. So now it's interesting. Doing contracts with clients, you as the attorney, I feel, have a fiduciary responsibility to explain all this to clients so they don't come firing back at you later, right? How come my name's on an LLC registry? And then we go to closings. What do you mean I have FERTA? What's that? And, I paid all cash. Why do I have to fill these forms out for FinCEN? And we don't get involved from the title perspective. That's why I have these events. Don't come running to us. We help you file it. Sorry about that. I got excited about money laundering.
No, that's what we want. I get excited about money laundering too.
We don't.
Maybe a different aspect.
I actually have a CELI I did at New York Law School and a lot of good war stories. So we can, if you want to do it, amazing what lawyers try to do, and then they lose their license, and that's it.
I don't have enough money to launder, to be
All right,
honest with
but
you.
so now the realtors are shaking because we're telling under a lot of these laws, the realtors are under obligation to do due diligence in the beginning to get the client. Who are they? What are they about? And while we're on the topic, I know you do commercial. The other hot topic within the residential field is the change of the property condition disclosure statement. All of this has come down from Hochul. No more $500 credit.
Unbelievable. That's been in place
Fill out the
forever.
form, and it did affect, but it has affected us downstate because of floods and all of this disclosure. So I spoke on it twice in Brooklyn and in Manhattan, and the lawyer's like, "What do you mean we can't give a $500 credit?" And I go, "Where have you been? All right, and this is why I do these CLEs, and remember." If you don't disclose it, you could lose your license because now we have to negotiate contracts differently, right? We're going to have to say, you usually say now you'll get a $500 credit from sell it. You can't say that.
Yep.
So I'm telling the lawyers, be careful how you tool your contracts. Again, not title related, but I'm always really good. This is not, I say that, not an underwriter issue, but I'm trying to help you. Because we got a lot of young lawyers that couldn't get jobs right out of law school, couldn't go work for a firm and just went for it, which I object to. They just went and got, I don't think they do plaques anymore, like the little gold plaque, but opening up an office and representing people. And you see it at the closing because the questions there, I feel bad for the clients. And a lot of in my community, it's the clients that don't speak English. It's their American dream to buy a house and they don't speak English. And they rely upon the attorney, to guide them through. So yeah, property condition disclosure, a lot of good stuff coming. Every week there's not, so I get up early in the morning. I don't really sleep much and look through the Real Deal, Commercial Observer, anything that comes into my phone to pick up on the latest things. I am at the Bar Association, which is good because we have committees, so we don't know. When Remote Notary came out, we were house afire at the New York State Bar. It didn't work. We assembled a task force on emergency to try to challenge Department of State and say, lawyers are exempted from all these new notary requirements. Nah, that didn't work. That didn't work. They tried to say it's too burdensome on the attorneys, and which I said, that's not going to work. They're going to go, who do you think you are? So I'm on this task force they signed me to, and all three of you are going to laugh. Remember, I worked in the courthouse in 1983. They're filing all these briefs, and they have to have it in days, Margaret, and they're giving me all this stuff. I'm like, when's the last time I did an appellate brief? So really, I was too busy. I stepped aside and helped them in any other way. Ron has been around February 1st, tomorrow, a year. No one's doing it. They're afraid of fraud. It's very complicated. I've talked about it 10 times this year. Remote online notary, electronic signature, and that's a whole different conversation. And as you know, the three of you have been doing all these virtual remote social distance closings since COVID. So you really need to know, is that the person, right? Make sure you're giving the money to the right party.
Luckily, we don't have those particular issues because we're dealing with entities. We don't have authorization and signature pages so it's a little different than on the residential. But yes, on the residential front, it's more ripe for fraud.
Yep.
And we also generally don't deal with we have foreign clients, but a lot of them are either U.S. based or New York based development firms or landlords.
Back to cybersecurity, because we started wiring a lot during that period, that's hit really bad.
Yeah,
wiring fraud is bad. Talk about it every day.
Have you heard? Oh
yeah, really bad stories. And I look at the cases, and I've said at CLE, some of the cases, once the bank gets those instructions, they could be incorrect that you got it from the fraudster. The bank's position, that's what you gave us.
Yeah.
We're not pulling it back.
Well, that's why we have a policy. We verbally confirm over the phone,
you.
The instructions.
That's
I myself was almost the victim of wire fraud by
my gosh.
somebody intercepted opposing counsels.
They're phishing, vishing, smishing, and quishing. I learned quishing last week. That's going into your QR code. So I'm like, I'm not even putting my phone on the menu at the restaurant. What are you kidding me? I was teasing my friends. We talk about it incessantly, and every transaction we have. So there was one in Flushing, bank attorney, $3 million in 3 weeks with the same bank, the same assistant, got change in wiring instructions, came on and didn't think of it after the first time it got breached. Yeah. Same bank, they shut them down, said, you can't be our bank attorney. We lost $3 million on you.
That's insane. I know a guy that he had commercial building and somehow they got into his email.
Yep.
He collected cyber people, connected rent for like 3 months.
Wow.
And he never saw the money.
So it's what I said, and I'm a golfer. So I said, basically, everyone's moving too quickly. We have to slow it down. So title company, we say that we might slow it down. You could be rushing a closing and we're going to ask you to make phone calls, verify. I actually will get on the phone. You could tell I go to engineering inspections. I will get on the phone to verify payoff.
No, me too. Ever since I almost got caught,
you just don't trust people.
Not anymore.
Exactly. So back to remote notary, we were worried. People are out of the country. How do we know what's going on? So
that's why I don't notarize anybody's signature.
That's right. Exactly. So if three of you know, when you renew now, you got to go online and all these different requirements. Yes. So there's always something interesting happening. You could tell.
Totally.
There was one thing that I wanted to turn back on into the golf.
Okay, so golf. Interesting story. I'm a tennis player since childhood. I was interviewed at the U.S. Open this year for attending the U.S. Open and being a member of the U.S. Tennis Open for 50 years. Through the knee surgery, I transitioned to golf, okay? And I didn't know, my friends are starting to play golf. So like 20 years ago, golf outings, what do you do with this? So, all right. So I lucked out going to a place in New Jersey by my family was home. He was the #1 PGA teaching for juniors in the country. He won the award. Very patient. I walked in and I said, give me the most patient pro you have. And because I was a tennis player, it was funny. I go, oh, short shot, like a volley. And put the club down and click like that. And he was like, Margaret. And I took it up diligently. I worked in Manhattan. I would come home from Manhattan, take the 7 train back to Flushing by 7, get the golf bag, go to the range, and hit for an hour. Okay, I was really into this. And basically started to play golf, realized that guys like to gamble on the golf course. They're smoking, they're drinking, they're talking. And, I'm very serious. My golf post straight and down the fairway and that's what I'm doing. And within 2 years of that, of playing golf, my golf pro got me involved in the First Tee. So I've been at the First Tee almost 20 years. It's a national program for underprivileged children. I actually am a certified volunteer coach. I've gone to school to get all my certifications and trainings. And on the weekends, I'm in New Jersey, First Tee Rare and Valley. I teach 6, 7, 8, and 9-year-olds. I was teaching teenagers, but I feel their attention span is not there. They really don't want to be there. Some of the little ones don't want to be there because the parents are dropping them off in the minivans on the dreams they're going to become millionaires. So we usually say that you'd rather play soccer. I need to talk to your parents when they pull up again. All right. But it's amazing because young people playing, there's nothing in their minds. They focus on the golf shots, and it's delightful for me to be there. So they always are curious what I do for a living. So I tell them oh, they look at me boring. I go, really not as boring as you think.
How can it be boring when you're so multifaceted?
So on top of that, about 20 years ago, my golf pro was involved with the PGA Tour. So every time you see a PGA tournament or a women's LPGA on TV, it's run by 5 full-time staff and 2,000 volunteers and 10 volunteer tournament directors. So I became a volunteer. And, I just thought it was the coolest thing. I love golf. I'm checking in Tiger Woods. I'm telling him what to do. And he's always rather white. He knows me. I know most of the PJ pros, although some of them have become traders and gone to the Live Tour. Not happy about those guys, but and we won't get into the politics of that. But yeah, I'm heading down to Naples, Florida on the 11th for the Chubb Classic. That's the senior PJ Tour. A lot of the players I recognize. And it's exciting for me. I run the tournament, basically. I run all the charitable ends before the tournament starts on a Thursday. There's what the Pro-Am is. So people can pay like corporation $30,000 like to play with Rory McIlroy. So if someone's got to run it, coordinate it. So you see all the CLEs and events I do. This is a piece of cake for me.
Oh, yeah.
And it's golf. So I love because they go, we don't understand all the stress and pressure. How do you do this? I go, I love being here. So the honor.
My day job.
This is nothing. So then I recruit all my friends to come. They love it. We're in the clubhouse. You're with the players. So the biggest honor I had, now we're trying to get the team, the PJ's trying to get us on the Ryder Cup next year. It's at Bethpage. All right. So we'll be corporate VIP hospitality. For me was the President's Cup. That was about 7 years ago at Liberty National in Jersey City. It was the U.S. versus international. And I was hosting and in charge of 7 U.S. presidents.
Wow.
We went from Carter when he was live, all the way up, all the Suburbans pulled up. I had to check them in, get them in their Lacoste shirts, seat them, talk to them. And I won't get political. Again, I'm going to say that because I wouldn't do that to you. President Trump did not come in, and we were grateful because it would be security chaos. And the last day of the tournament, they say to me, he's coming. So they actually put glass over the clubhouse in 3 hours. I don't know how they did this. He's coming, and I'm in charge of all this, and it was chaos. It was absolute. They shut down the New Jersey Turnpike. State troopers came. My team they call us the Navy SEALs of the PJ Tour on my team because we're very focused. We're really polite to everybody. We're not stalkers. I had one woman I had to expel.
When you have to say you're not a stalker, by the way.
She was running after. She was in love with Phil Mickelson, and she kept chasing him around the golf course. We don't chase them down for autographs. Okay?
I always thought, to me, and I was never a golfer because I'm not very good at it. I tried to swing at the ball, and it's impossible to hit it. I could hit everything but that little ball. But
there.
I always thought it was a great networking opportunity.
Yes, you hit it. So continue to learn because all the deals are made on the golf course.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I'm telling young
retreat,
women.
I'll learn.
No, women now, and I'm sad. All the corporate golf outings, there are never women there, and they should be there. Because
I could dress up, by
they're
the way.
missing.
I have a cute little tennis skirt.
There you go. There you go.
She can lend me a cute.
I'll lend you one.
So I tell all my friends, your children, focus them on golf because also there's golf scholarships, tons of golf scholarships. Yeah. But when it comes to business, it's going on the course.
Why do you think that is? That business happens?
It's interesting that you say that. I don't know.
Like, why is it that it's that? I don't. What is it about golf?
It's a calm sport where everybody can just kind of slow down and like one person goes up at a time.
What about pool or bowling? Why deals happen there?
And you know what, Brenda's right.
No, it's a loud atmosphere. You can't do
golf. Think of this, David. And my golf bro told me this. You're not competing against anybody. You're competing against yourself.
Yeah.
You could always play with people because you're not really. It's your score. And it is. The guys love to go out. And they do. They tell the wives they're going out there for the whole day. You talk to a golf
I thought that's
widow.
why people go, so that they can avoid their relationships with their children.
Play. Now,
I can't wait to tell my partner.
I will admit you, good golfers, Mayor Blumberg would come to outing. No nonsense. Done in 3.5 hours. You go out there. He's amazing.
That's in just 3.5 hours?
He goes out there, hits his golf ball, minds his own business.
18 holes? That's kind of quick.
18 holes. He's an amazing golfer. So every year he would remember me. Good morning, Margaret. And it would be so cool, to chat with him. But, some people, it's a whole day, right? You get there, you got to practice, you go play with your guy friends, and you go out and you go to the 19th hole, have some drinks, hang out. Could be a whole day, but it doesn't have to be.
Why is it not a woman? Why is it that you think that less women, and I would assume less minorities, are playing? The
patriarchy.
It's really considered, to me, in my mind, it's a white man's
Thank
sport.
you. So now at the PJ Tour, United States Golf Association, I'm involved also with tennis, the U.S. Open. I'm involved in all these diversity initiatives. There's no reason for that. It's a privileged sport. It's got to open up. Is it
because the golf courses are expensive to?
No, it's just like based on the patriarchy and way back when. I will be
upfront with you. It's not embracing. I'll walk into. You see me, and you walk in, and I'm the only Asian with 500 people in the room. Do you think anyone makes me feel welcome? Not really. So it needs to embrace it.
I have the same problem.
So you want?
David, I actually have the same problem.
Well, when you walk in a room full of women, you feel it. So this is what diversity, equity, include. Everyone's got to learn. But for the business, I talk about DEI is not only making everyone feel like they belong, But the business aspect is really important. Everybody wants business out of it. So that's fine. You're going to get business from the multicultural facet, but they need to feel like they belong.
Yeah.
So USTA, United States Tennis Open, which I've been going 50 years, they approached me and I said, it's interesting that you sit right next to Flushing, Asian Flushing, and you never thought to go into the community. So I connected them. You go into the community, and we did. We've opened up the U.S. Tennis Center. Amazing. Well, money, because the Asians, I don't like to say crazy rich Asians, but most Asians have their own tennis courts, belong to the clubs, golf clubs, belong to most prestigious clubs. It's there, but how you evolve it and connect it and cultivate is really important. You have to respect people. This is as simple as that, and they're not doing that. It's very white privilege sport, both of the tennis and golf. And that's been my life. So I'm trying to help them, connect them. That's what Margaret's like, the connector, to open it up more.
Yeah.
It's going to be long term.
Well, we've hit a lot of topics
I
today.
know.
Margaret, we really appreciate you coming in.
Thank
You
you.
have so many more things to talk about. I feel like we do like a 7-part expose.
I had such a nice time. Thank you so much.
And we appreciate you coming in and really thinking about all the things we're going to discuss today. And you're so impressive, and so many organizations, so many good things that you're doing. And I think that your parents would certainly be proud.
In heaven. They're up in heaven watching that I'm carrying the family legacy. I would suggest to anybody, if you're interested in anything I'm talking about, go on my LinkedIn. It's wide open. And if you want to get involved in any of these things, feel free to contact me. Women lawyers contact me that they're starting golf, so I've helped them along with that. Or even if you have a real estate question, I'm quite open to that.
Yeah, we'll include your LinkedIn in the notes as well.
Yeah.
We'll include a link to this so people can click on
Absolutely.
it and get in touch with you. And if there's anything else you want to plug, an upcoming CLE or a webinar or something that you want to...
I got a lot going on, but if anyone's interested, I'll give you my email. It's margaret.ling@amtrustgroup.com. I have tons of events coming up. Just send me your name and I'll put you on the invite list. And as I said, I work at AmTrust Title, and we insure whether it's residential or commercial. That's what I've been doing most of my career, I would say. And so you don't even have to give me a file. If you have some interesting questions that you're not sure about it, feel free to contact me.
Or you just want to play some golf or tennis.
There you go.
Thank you so much. We
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much
Wonderful.
for coming.
Thank you.
Had a great time. Thank you.
Well, everyone, that's our show. Thanks so much for listening.
And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave comments, because we love to hear from our audience, right, Brenda?
Yeah, feel free to reach out at info@sideandshine.com or visit our website at sideandshine.com. We really look forward to hearing from you.
You could also reach out to David and Brenda at dshamshovich@sideandshine.com and bslakowski@sideandshine.com.
Those are lengthy last names. You can just find us on our website.
That's right.
Bam, 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 bam.